podcast. My name is Lauren, and if this is the first pod you're joining, know that this is all about breaking your delusions. Although the name of this pod might be getting you a little off track. We're going to talk about something that was one of the very first ideas I ever had when I thought, what would I want to talk about on a podcast? This was well before I had any idea what the podcast was going to be about. And it's because I don't like how most of our life is built around looking for the next best thing all the time, looking for the trip, looking for the magic, and not making the most out of every day. And there was this concept that came to me. What if we took time to look at what is so fascinating about all those times that we have that are the big key milestones? We remember certain highlights and we take pictures and we write journals about it. And we make such a big deal about all of these elements of what are really short periods in our life. What about those things makes us want to carry on that feeling as long as we can? So the idea occurred to me that it might be kind of cool to think about what it would look like if you wanted to live like you were at Disney every day. Little backstory, I was never into Disney as a amusement park, as a fanatic of maybe any particular Disney character. I was certainly raised on Disney, watched all the movies, certainly had my favorites, but I wouldn't say I was obsessed. But now I can. A short story that will be told as a longer story in another pod is that we had an unexpected change of plans for our 1 year anniversary. We were expecting to go to an
All inclusive
island
all
and get
week.
to have, and it was post COVID. And like I said, I'm not going to spoil that amazing story for you for another pod. But we ended up going to Disney that year. I'd only ever been to Disney one time, and it was with my high school in 2010. And I really didn't have like a solid friend group most of my public school life. So when it comes to that trip, I was truly just bouncing around. Like I had a room of people that I was, rooming and staying with, but I didn't really know them very well either. And so I cannot say that that was my first true experience at Disney. I didn't know what I was missing and I didn't know what I could have been doing there. It was really go with the flow. Now jump ahead to 2021, and David and I go to Disney World. COVID precautions. So you had to wear masks in line, and you definitely had less people. We had to make sure that we could get tickets, but it was still so early after the pandemic hit that people were like very sus about travel. So it was actually kind of a good thing. And what I noticed is how easily you could become obsessed with Disney. Checking the wait times, making sure you get the exact right food that you want, looking into all of the fast pass options, being meticulous about the place that you stay and which park you go to when, and what fireworks display do you want to see. There's all these different elements to Disney. And I'm like, the reason that you have to be obsessed in a way is because this is something that most people do not get to do more than one or two times in their life. We are fortunate enough that we have been now to Disney World twice together and Disneyland once, in the between those. But I'm like, The reason you have to be obsessed with it is because you have to make the most of those trips. You never know what the weather's going to be like, but you always know that the lines are going to be crazy and the crowds are going to be a lot. So you have to plan accordingly. So I know that the concept of living every day like you're in Disney seems like a really random concept. And I totally get that. But I actually found some elements to it that can easily, if given priority, be implemented into your daily life. It's a little thematic, as Disney's been known to portray everything, but follow along and see if you get me. Because here's the delusion: the delusion is that we can't enjoy ourselves as much as we could in Disney World. It sounds like a true statement, especially for those like me who are like, yeah, but all I do is dream about Disney. I'll even be a little forthright with my, I'd say, guilty pleasure. When I work from home and I need background music and I need something to just fuel me going through some of the tasks that, it's just autopilot, I put on this YouTuber. It's called Ear to Ear Magic, and it is a father and son team. They just get commission from what they're being able to hook people up with, and it's free to the user. So they go around the parks Monday through Friday. Sometimes they even hop into Universal and hotels and things like that. And they make a point of showing you all of the things that you probably don't get the chance to do when you are cramming in this trip. They have season passes. They go obviously as much as they possibly can. And of course, I want to see the magic. I'm living vicariously through them. It's 8 a.m. and they're in line for Space Mountain and I'm sitting there doing reorders for my inventory queue. It's it's enough to keep me feeling like I'm there because I hear it and I see it. I'm not there physically, but that still hardly feels like being at Disney. No way. So how is it a delusion then that we can't live every day like we're at Disney? Because there are elements to the days of Disney that, if prioritized, you can have them be a part of your life. So follow along and see if you jive with what I am putting down. Okay. So if you are a true obsessed fan, Disney adult, you know all about the rope drop to fireworks scenario where you show up like a half hour before the park even opens to wait in line at a true rope that the cast members have people crammed up against, so that when they lift that rope up somewhere in the park, you're able to walk, but kind of run to the rides that you want because you know that those lines might be insane all day. Do you realize that when you plan to get up early enough to get to rope drop and get the head start above everybody, there's something special to that moment. I hear about so many people say, oh, well, I was never a morning person until I went to Disney. And then you get up at 6 and you're on the bus at 6:45 and you're standing in line at 7 getting your tickets and you're at rope drop 15 or 20 minutes before they drop the thing. It's like most people can't get out of bed in the morning in their day-to-day life. So it's like, why? What's the dichotomy? Here's the difference: there's something to look forward to, and you know that you're getting a benefit and some type of incentive. I think people, and I'm including myself in this, go to their job, take their time throughout their day to just kind of browse their phone, type a couple emails, have a couple water cooler conversations, come home, do chores, watch a TV show, and do it all over again. What is incentivizing or exciting about that? There's no plans that are special or intermittent that you can get excited for because It's not something that you have so ingrained in your routine. Disney's certainly not something that's ingrained in your routine, except for the people that live down there. Lucky. But I did start to find myself finding things that had me wake up in the morning. I mentioned it on the last pod. I have started to get back into doing morning workouts. I was doing that for years. And then I had a baby. Obviously, I couldn't work out for the first 6 weeks. And then I'm just worried about sleep deprivation at that point, and I'm doing my workouts when I can. And I started to get into this habit in the last year of I'll just sleep in and I'll do my workout later in the day. And I'll tell you what, I had discipline enough for like the first month of that. I am simply not a night owl. Ask David. I can't even hang for a movie that's longer than an hour and a half. Like it's almost impossible. And I think we're going to like some superhero movie on Friday, so I better like have my act together for that because I'm sure it's 2+ hours. But the concept of me having to push myself in the morning sounds hard until I reframe it and say I get to. So I get to wake up in the morning to do this. I get to use movement and fitness and a fun workout at home to incentivize me to have energy. It incentivizes me to get to work and be happy and perky and excited to be there because most people are like, get me the heck out of here. Like, when is the 5 o'clock mark going to hit where I can just leave? Um, I don't want to live life like that. And I don't think most people want to live like that. So think about what the rope drop is in your life, that maybe the paycheck, if it was higher, if you had a job that gave you more of a rewarding sense of being there instead of just monotonally, is that a word? Monotonally? I'll make it a word today. Um, go throughout your life without any real drive to get there. What about making local plans so that you can look forward to things every week? And, you're just waking up with that countdown. I know a lot of people that talk about Disney countdowns. I have one. I'm going with David and some friends um, in August this year. It was a very big surprise for me. But, that's a countdown that I'm obviously going to be excited about and obsessed about. It's the fact that I'm being intentional about what would allow me to feel that every day is special because it's one step closer to the life I want to live. And getting up in the morning for me becomes that. I know that I'm best in the morning. I get my energy. I've started to do more meditations and breath work to settle myself down, coming off of some anxiety and depression. I know that that's really helpful for me. So if I don't get that first couple hours in the day, before Bella and David wake up and before I have to commute to work or log on from home, I'm not getting time to myself. I'm an extrovert, but introverting sensations don't show up with me much. I always want people, but I'm finding that then I'm constantly on the go and I'm constantly giving my life away to people. So think about those things. Think about the things that you could be adding to your life that if you added them, you would want to be someone that plans it all out, gets up in the morning and says, yeah, I'm ready for today. What are we going to do next? All right. If you're also a big planner at Disney, you constantly have to follow the fast pass system because I don't even know if that's what it's called. You can listen to this in 6 months and it's probably called something else. Every time I look, Disney has changed the way that they're doing this, constantly trying to evolve it. Essentially, you pay a little more, you get on the ride a little quicker. And sometimes that leaves you to be guaranteed getting on the ride because of how crazy it could be all day. That gets a lot of heat as a system because you're already paying what you're paying to get into the park and to stay and to fly and all the things. And then it's like, oh, but you mean I can get a little more freedom in my day if I invest a little more? You see where I'm going with this? So, investment doesn't have to look like money. Investment can look like time. It can look like you saying, I can sit here and not do anything and also complain that I don't have the freedom I want, or I can invest my time in a skill that I could learn, or um, growing a social network that I complain I don't have. I'm speaking to myself a little bit because I'm a new mom that's like, where the friends at? So I'm feeling it. But to not take action, it's kind of exempting you from the complaint department. Might I be a little savage about that? Because while complaining doesn't help anybody, it definitely is not very valid coming from the person that doesn't do the work. So in this example, I'm stretching a little bit because I'm like, okay, I'm comparing investing money into FastPass into, investing in your life. But the same people that complain that they don't have those things, it's not that they couldn't. A lot of them, if they can get to Disney, they could add that extra thing. But it's all about priorities, right? Maybe they want to put that money towards snacks and souvenirs. I'm not a souvenir person when it comes to Disney, honestly. Like, things don't draw me very much. And I say that in probably August, I'm going to feel totally different. David's going to have to keep me in check. But the snacks, that I know how excited people get about that. And maybe that's where their money gets prioritized. It's probably because it's fun and it's a quick hit of dopamine, and it's just like, "Yes, like, I've been waiting for this, and I finally get my treat." But it's very quickly over. I think that a lot of times we do that with our own time. I've been hearing the data and the stats, it's coming in a rapid, increasing fashion that we are spending more and more average hours on our phones and on our TVs. And, people like me, unfortunately, are in a position to, just be on their computer doing their job all day. So you're just like hooked to screens. Like, man, I mean, 11 to 12 hours a day, it really puts it in perspective. And there's times when that's necessary and when that's helpful. And there are also times when it's not, and investment needs to be put somewhere else. So if you are a planner and you do at least want to see what the current fast pass system is when you go to Disney, you're obviously someone who wants to get ahead a little bit. And perhaps you might have to invest a little to do it, but you're also gaining some freedom. And I think sometimes freedom, as many people want to complain that they have no power to change it, sometimes need to think a little harder about where they're investing their current resources. All right, I teased it a little bit. The food options at Disney is just like, okay, David and I have this document right now that we're running of pulling all of the restaurants in all of the areas of the parks that we maybe haven't been to before but have had high ratings. And look, I looked at ratings in Reddit threads and stuff. I honestly just looked at Google Maps. I didn't really think about that before. Like, you can actually look at the Google rating for Disney restaurants. So we've been hardcore researching that. And I know that we'll come up with like a couple finals that'll make it, especially since we have to reserve in June for that trip. But the research is worth it, 100% worth it. It takes time, but you go and you hear about all of these awesome character breakfasts, and you hear about these special occasions that, you would only be able to get so many people in. I hear Oga's Cantina is one of those spots. It's like, if you're lucky enough to get a spot at the bar and have a special drink, like, it's an elitist feeling. I think about the fact that we live in a economy right now that just recently had a bit of a freak out about the egg situation. I was one of them too. Like, even going to Aldi, it just felt like, oh my gosh, I cannot get a carton of eggs to save my life. Luckily, I don't know, luckily, but I'm just saying I managed to find other things to eat. That was like my staple for 5 years in a row. But I get a lot of questions, especially towards my fitness and nutrition lifestyle, of like, that seems like a lot of work to do all this food prep and figure out what ingredients you can get at your local store versus what you might have to get on Thrive Market. I use that a lot, just because I know that they will have the oddball stuff, but again, it's like, all right, you're getting ingredients from like 3 different places. You're spending at least 2 to 3 hours on a Sunday, like getting your life together on that. Like, why would you put that effort in? I think that the way I'm comparing the Disney experience with real life, if I can call it that, is you're putting in the time because you know that it will make the difference between you feeling like you invested well or not. Food costs so freaking much everywhere. It wouldn't matter if it was Aldi or if it was freaking Disney. Like, they both have their expensive traits about them, no matter what you're looking at. But it would really be painful to pay $50 for a dinner at Disney that you're like, "Ah, that wasn't really the cuisine I was into." And man, and it's like, I'm already paying hundreds, thousands. Like, this is annoying. I don't want to just walk into a grocery store and just like haphazardly make decisions. I just don't. I don't want to do it for my money and I don't want to do it for my nutrition and my fuel. I know what feels good to my body. I know it's to be as gluten and dairy free as possible. Doesn't happen perfectly. I will assure you of that. And I found out when I was pregnant that I could take tolerance more to dairy and gluten. So I have to keep I have to keep my mind on that when it comes to the next time around. But I know that it's hard to do the work. And yet I also know I'm going to walk out of the store and I'm like, yeah, I paid a couple $100 and my family's going to be well fed and we're going to feel good. Like, it's so easy to pick the cheap stuff that you know you feel terrible after eating. And then you've only got 2 more meals in the day to eat things that are also going to make you feel bad. Moral of the story, if you're going to be obsessed about where you go to eat in Disney, you should be obsessed about what you're eating every day cuz that's what your body's using to build itself. Um it's it's known facts, it's highly researched, and I see more and more evidence come out about even just going a day without eating more than 10 grams of sugar, I feel so much better than I did. And I want to come even to a lower point if I can, even like 5 grams, because I know I feel best that way. And when I'm looking through all of these Disney reservations, I'm thinking to myself, okay, like I want all of the recommendations. In fact, I'll open it up to this podcast. If you have recommendations, please put them in comments or send me a message in the Delusion Rehab Podcast Instagram or Facebook. These are all the things I want to know because I want to put the money where it belongs. All right, halfway through. Fireworks. Let's imagine we're at Magic Kingdom right now. Fireworks is the biggest event ever at that park. Little side note, if I ever get the chance to be a fireworks inventory analyst for Disney, you better believe I'm going to take it. And if it requires moving to Florida, David and I might have to have a conversation. That job sounds so cool to me. Fireworks every night in 3 of the parks. So cool. But I haven't done the fireworks show every night that I've gone to Magic Kingdom. And I don't know if you knew that people do this because you feel like the entire park is always in front of the castle. But people use that time, including David and I, to go on rides because that's our kind of like rope drop at the end of the day. You get the incentive of doing something else besides celebrating the way everyone else is. And here's what I want to talk about. People celebrate things in ways that don't make sense to you because it's just not simply what you would want. Let's just take, for example, like, do you want to have a glass of champagne once you've completed a goal or hit a milestone? Or do you want to take a weekend trip somewhere? Do you just want to go to a spa and chill out? Or do you want to close the room for 24 hours and just read books and eat snacks? Like, what is your sense of reward and celebration? In those two examples of fireworks and Space Mountain, you get the choice to be with the majority and celebrate like that because it's a spectacle and it's the biggest thing that they're known for at that park is their fireworks display. Or you can choose to soak in the celebration the way you choose. And I think, like I said, in life, people are like, oh, like you just finished a crazy diet for 2 months. You should go get a pizza to celebrate. That might completely sound backwards to you. And you're like, well, that's actually not how I want to celebrate because that feels not only like I'm going to make myself very sick after eating so well for 2 months, but now I'm also going to be throwing myself into a potential backtrack and temptation. Guess what happens when you watch the fireworks show and you're done watching the fireworks show? It's called Mad Dash Out the Park. Which mode of transportation are you taking? Are you walking? Are you doing monorail? Are you doing bus? Are you taking a ferry? Are you calling a cab? Or are you looking up a Lyft or an Uber? It is insane. And it almost has people leave the fireworks show a little early just to get the head start, right? Talk about incentive. When you are on those rides, during the fireworks show, first of all, you're at the back of the line. You're having the time of your life. You're like headed out in a very casual way. Everyone else is mad dashing like it's freaking Black Friday. It's like, no, not for me. So sometimes the majority, it gets a little crowded and it doesn't feel as fun. And again, I think it's loose in how I'm interpreting it, but I really think that when we go for a goal, I don't always know if it's about the goal itself or the reward at the end. I think sometimes we're just aiming for it to be over so that we can do something. Did you know you can have treat yourself moments all around your life and it doesn't have to be particular to any one goal that you've met? I've been learning what it feels like to give yourself self-care when there's not one particular validating criteria that you can write down or cross off your list to say, yes, I earned this spa day. Yes, I earned this sushi trip. Not that I would have any idea about that. But those things actually give you what you want on the way to where you're going. And I just want you to think about that the next time that you have to decide what you want to do at the end of a night at an amusement park. You choose what you want to do because you only get this life once. And I think that it's easy to go with the popular opinion and the majority. But you might be surprised that it's actually fun to find out that Space Mountain on occasion has the lights come on when it's that late in the night, and then you get really nervous about how you've ever been on the ride without feeling like you're going to have an appendage removed. But anyway, all right, couple more topics here, and I'm not surprised at all that this podcast is going to be the longest of all the ones I've recorded. Hotel arrangements. Of course, another topic of research. You have to do the legwork to set yourself up, to get yourself out the door in a positive way, right? Like I know everyone has their own cup of tea. Some people want the luxury, some people want the value. Some people want the cabin. We did the cabin a couple years ago at Wilderness Lodge. I loved it. Fort Wilderness. It was so cool. It very much glamping. Like there's camping options. No, we took the glamping cabin, but we didn't mind. There were people in bunk beds. It was a close quarters, but to each their own. Here's the thing. Everyone needs to pick the option that is going to make the most sense for them when they want to go into the parks because you have different modes of transportation. Like I said, to get there, we took a ferry over from Fort Wilderness to go to Magic Kingdom, but then we had to take buses to other spots. So you have to think about like what's the mode to get there? Are you a breakfast person like me and you're going to flip out if you don't have at least a granola bar and an energized drink like right before you leave because you just know that you have a lot to be thinking about at 6 a.m. when there's a rope drop involved. You got to think about what's the priority here? What do I need to wear today? All those little pieces of minutia just to get yourself set up right. You'd think that I would be more prepared as a morning person in my daily life because I wake up so darn early. And in reality, I spend that time for me and I spend almost as much possible time as I can for me. And I leave maybe 20 to 30 minutes to do all the things that I really need to be doing. before I get out the door. Having my backpack packed up with my laptop and all the notebooks I need, making sure I know where my car keys are. Can I get an amen? Um, Keeping my phone in my pocket the entire time that I am walking around the house because I don't have my Fitbit. I don't have my Apple Watch charged, so I can't even press that little button to find it. It's it's clearly a problem when you're not set up to leave right, because then you're not really setting yourself up for having a day right. Some people want to have the luxury resorts because they want to have killer breakfasts and they want to have the comfiest mattresses because they have sore feet and just like sore bodies entirely from walking 20,000 plus steps a day. But when we come to our own life, and I think it's kind of going back to rope drop a little bit, because if you don't have a reason to feel good about waking up, why would you even want to prepare for the day? I get it. Like, I've had a couple jobs in my life that I had to say, this cannot happen anymore because I am waking up and dreading getting out of bed. And that's not my personality. So I knew it had so much more to do with what was going on in my life. And that's where you need to assess. One, like we talked about before, what's incentivizing you to get out of your bed in the morning. But then, even then, if you do have an incentive, you want to be in your best possible space for it. So I know I'm taking this on as my own plan. If I'm going to be as decisive about what I want my days in Disney to look like, because I want to maximize my value and potential, why am I not doing that in my daily life? I'm just going to leave it there. That's like a heavy statement sometimes when you think about, like, why am I not making more of my life than I can? And I recognize like all these topics are around research. But again, the planner for Disney doesn't always plan the other 360 days of the year as if they matter. Last topic, souvenirs. I said to you, I'm not a Disney souvenirs person, but I'll be honest here, I have struggled in some of my OCD tendencies with hoarding. It kind of runs in my family a little bit. Um, it's hard to handle that uh, weight of realizing it was happening kind of later in my life. Like, I got to maybe 25 or 26 and I was like, this is kind of not good. In fact, the second date that David and I had, he was coming to pick me up. I probably spent 3 hours cleaning my house before he showed up because I was worried that he was going to be like, no, we need to turn around. I mean, I was not messy in terms of trash everywhere. It was just like nothing's organized. I still have a lot of these tendencies and we're working on it. But, people go to Disney. They've got all these ideas of what they want to have for souvenirs when they come home. Do they even leave enough room in their suitcase for souvenirs? Do they have to pay to get them shipped home? I've heard of some people having to do that. Here's the deal. You have to be intentional enough about that to be like, that's what I want because of all those things that I could have. I want to get the backpack because I know I'm going to use it at home. I want to get that t-shirt because I know that that's going to be comfortable to sleep in or something. Like, you're thinking through, like, where am I actually going to put that thing? Where am I actually going to use it? That has been a big project in my life right now, has been decluttering. Not only are we in the market for a home, but I don't want to bring shish that is here that I don't even want to the new place. So, if I'm going to be intentional about, again, investing my money and being thoughtful about the few things that I would want to take home, I get even kind of picky about whether I'm taking home a paper or a pamphlet that someone gave me when I go out. I try to find a recycling bin or trash can depending on the item. If it merits that, or it immediately goes into a donation bag. I have a consistent running donation bag that's sitting on the front chair in my house that's like, all right, out the door, can I take something to Goodwill? I'm even getting in the market of eBay again. Who knew eBay was still a thing? It's so a thing. I just sold like over $100 worth of video games and DVDs that I'm like, I didn't even think people were using these things anymore. Like old stuff, like Game Boy Advance, that kind of stuff. It's because I sense that I've been not so focused on keeping possessions for their usefulness and their value. I've been keeping them because I can't make decisions about them. And I say can't, but I guess I really mean won't, because I look at it and I think I could maybe use this. I don't want to throw it out. I already have so many things to donate. Does Goodwill even take this? That's like the biggest thing that always stops me. I don't even know if Goodwill will take this. It's like, give it a try, Laura. Like, don't don't get so caught in the details that you're like, oh, I don't know if they'll take this random keychain or not. If it's not valuable to me, I need to be getting it out. If any of you need help with this, David got this for me as a gift, and I do not take this offensively because I really needed this and I'm using these cards a lot to reference. There's this decluttering kit that David got me. It's a pack of cards that essentially walks you through every major area of your house and is like, okay, take a look at your shoes. Which ones haven't you worn in the last year? Because if they made it through all 4 seasons and you didn't put them on, it's time for them to go. Of course, I'm keeping my wedding shoes, right? Like, all right, there's a difference there. But when it comes to the run of the mill, oh yeah, I got those at TJ Maxx 2 years ago, and I don't remember last time I wore them. It's time to part with it. I want to be better about that so that I can, of course, declutter in a more massive fashion versus bringing in very little. In my job, we always talk about if we're going to put an item in the system, we need to take an item out. You know, I'm trying to apply that to my own life, except I'm more like one item in, 3 items out. I'm trying to like speed up the process more. But again, all about investment and how you're going to plan. And yet you want to be able to take that same drive that you would have in a Disney day and put it towards your everyday. So let's walk through all 6 of these things so you can think about what a day at home might look like if you planned it and researched it as well as you did for Disney. You're excited to wake up in your hotel that you've meticulously chosen. You get a head start. I don't think you need to book any of those virtual queues right now, but if you did, you'd be up for it. You'd be stoked. You'd have your Mickey ears on. You would have your Fast Pass bought at 7 a.m. so that you can go on all of the rides that you hope to do at the park that you want because you wanted to invest in having a little more freedom for your day. You know exactly where you're going to eat because you don't want to waste your money on all the stuff that's really not good bang for your buck. You're going to choose souvenirs in a particular way so that you only bring what you truly want and will use, not just to clutter your home. And at the end of the night, you get to decide, do I want to go with the majority with the fireworks, or do I want to go to Space Mountain virtually by yourself? Guys, this was a thought that came through my head of like, what do I like about Disney? I like the fact that I prioritize myself. I'm going to get emotional, I feel like. Okay, if you go on the internet and you look up why people become Disney adults, it's because they want to have childlike experiences as adults. What do children do? They seek out the excitement and the opportunities. I think very often in our lives, we opt to choose for the cheaper thing, the easier thing, the thing we don't have to think twice about. It just becomes part of our nature. But honestly, you don't really have to spend a totally different amount of money or be awake any more hours of the day or, feel completely trapped in not having a choice because if we sat down and thought about what we really wanted our day to look like, I think we'd come up with some pretty cool things that would make us excited to wake up in the morning that our hobbies will become our passions, that our work could even feel more valuable and exciting. Maybe you've been tempted to try to job search in the climate we're in. It's a hard choice, but I think that the choice of you looking for a better quality of life is worth the time. So the delusion, because that's really what this podcast is, right? Delusion rehab. It was that you can't live your day like you're at Disney. But I really think that if you think through the things that make Disney special in the end, sure, minus the magic and the fairy dust, you can make your life look like you want to wake up for it and you can't wait to go to sleep because the next day's coming. All right. When it comes to the songs, you know me, just go and head straight to a Disney playlist because could not pick a song for anything. I love all of them. I'm kind of obsessed with the Mufasa soundtrack that Lin Manuel Miranda just did. I was wanted a brother. I'll post that song. I really do like that one. But otherwise, enjoy your little Disney playlist from whichever movie suits you, and we will see you next time.